All right, and welcome to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I am excited to be back in studio. This is a huge event. I got my partner in crime, my co-host Clint Aiken today. We've been without Clint for a while, just because of the Zoom platform, and so now back in studio. All of our temperatures are checked, and we're ready to rock and roll. And so we are here with Regina Lindsey today. She's the Vice President of Economic Development here at the Economic Alliance, and we're going to touch up on a few key things, a little bit of background, right, on what your role is and where it's come over the last few years, some of your history, and then we're going to touch base on kind of a 2020 recap. There was still work that took place even in all the disruption, and then a forecast for 2021. Okay. So we're excited to chat about that today. Regina, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And so for our audience, as many of you know, the Economic Alliance it touches up on several counties and cities here in the region. We serve logistics, transportation, petrochem, midstream. I mean, really, it's all things encompassing construction, schools,
local government. And it's all here.
The organization, in and of itself, is designed solely to really help create development, opportunities, and jobs. And so I was just always intrigued by the work that goes on. And Chad's our front guy, right? He's the guy out, president. Everybody sees Chad. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of work being done in your role. And so I'd love you to share a little bit about that. So first of all, tell us about you, your history, your background, and then maybe what brought you to our organization.
Whole resume, birth to now. Just kidding.
Okay.
You can't say four square 7 years ago.
Oh, come on. I'm a history person. So I got into economic development about 20 years ago, so I just dated myself. And I kind of got into this role through my role as mayor. And when I'm interviewing people, I always want to ask them, how did you get into economic development? Because nobody grows up saying, I want to be an economic development person. So throughout that career, I've had an opportunity to work with an awful lot of different industries, but one of them was in the Beaumont-Port Arthur area. Okay. And so that industry base is very similar to here, lots of similar companies over there. The chemical industry is really important. They've got a lot of LNG, over there, and then all of the service companies that go along with that. And so this was a real natural fit. And I've known this organization for quite some time and just think the world of it. And so was really happy to come onto this team after Fred retired.
Nice, great. Now, you brushed over that super fast. Did you say mayor?
I was the mayor of a small town, Silsbee, so it's small, 6,400 people. But the interesting thing is I think that serves me well in this position because I know what it's like to be on both sides. Of that table.
All right, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You skip that. It's like, I just kind of did this. I was a mayor, and then it's like I had to do this. I'm like, well, you brushed over that pretty quick. Don't discount that. That's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So
absolutely,
we're glad to have you today. Now, you had said when Fred had left. So tell us specifically about the role in and of itself, and what it's been like in the past, and then kind of where you're taking in the future.
Sure, and I always love that question because when you meet people, they always say, what do you do for a living? And you say economic development, and it's like, whoo, we glaze over. So yeah, the elevator version of that is I work with companies that are local and they're looking to expand, and they may run into some sort of an issue. Typically, it's a permitting issue. I spend an awful lot of time working through permits for companies, but it could be anything, from the permitting side of things to infrastructure type things, workforce development. But on the other side of things, we work on attracting companies to the area. So we work with our partners, the Greater Houston Partnership, the Governor's Office, or we have a lot of member referrals. And one of the wins last year actually came to us through a member that was sitting on an airplane next to the owner and listening to what he was trying to accomplish. And we ended up working with him through that process, and that was one of our wins last year, Pro Citrus.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll touch up on that win later on. I think it's a great you talked about last year, and we'll jump into that, but I always want to encourage our audience to understand that the purpose of the show is to help bring awareness to just how much work can be or can get done. And when you run into a hiccup, why you leverage organizations like this as an advocate for you. We really are just a third party
I love that
advocate.
word, advocate. That's such a great word.
That's who we are. We're advocates. So we're trying to help opportunities. And so I think a lot of times people run into a wall and they go, well, how am I going to get this done? And I know last year there was just so many shining examples, especially when the chaos erupted and everything shut down. There was this PPE issues, and as that started happening, Chad jumped in. You guys were able to get a lot done. So we're not going to jump on that today because I think we have a previous episode where Chad talked a lot about that work.
Okay.
But we'll let you hit on the highlight later on in the episode. But just want to remind everybody, that's why you become a member of these type of organizations. It helps you get things done.
Right.
You know. So with that being said, why don't you wrap up a little bit about 2020, because it was kind of a weird year.
He was.
Yeah.
Really?
So I think it'd be good to share, what was going on behind the scenes. I know for many of us, we were accustomed to big events. We were accustomed to getting to go and see our congressmen and those individuals and decision makers and procurement managers and these people live at some of the bigger events that we've kind of always been signature for the region.
Right.
And then a lot of that got moved virtual, and so it was a different dynamic. And so we're excited to be back together. But tell us about some of the great stuff that happened in 2020.
Sure, and it was a bit of a perfect storm because we always go into an election year understanding that some of the investment's going to be pulled back because companies don't like uncertainty and they want to hold on and wait and see what policies are going to be in place. So went into it January, with that mindset, and then March hit. And you had the COVID information where you had companies that were simply afraid of whether they were going to stay open, they were going to keep employees, and then thirdly you had the drop in oil prices. And I'll never forget, because I keep an eye on that. And I saw negative $30 a barrel. How in the world does that happen? So I did some research, and then it was like, okay, that makes sense. However, so I got very, very nervous about what was going to take place. But it actually ended up being a really good year. We ended up with about $800 million. An investment and about 300 jobs, that were created. And so, at the end of the year, I got to wipe the sweat off my face. And then, interestingly, what happened is, and this speaks to that comment that I said about the election year. Right after the election, November and December are typically my slow months. I am telling you, I was flooded with inquiries about the area, and I would attribute that to not only the election, getting settled, but the announcement of the COVID vaccine, and now prices are finally. We're getting close to $60, a barrel, and so we haven't seen those prices in quite some time.
We're seeing a big influx too from other states, people leaving and coming here because of the business climate. So I think it's a compliment to the job that y'all been doing, and it's a compliment to everyone that's actually involved with this show and watching and listening to us. So we've made this area more attractive for businesses to come here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's a really good point. And Texas has always been known for being a business-friendly state. But when we have those dynamics that we just discussed, that makes it even more attractive, and that has those relocations have increased dramatically.
So when you say 300 jobs, are you talking about here in the refineries or in the plants or in the operations or executive level? Or are we also including the supplemental jobs that are created in the community from those?
Those are not indirect jobs. Those are direct jobs.
Okay, great. So I say that to remind everybody the importance of local relationships, local government, local support, local advocacy. Because when your local organizations like this one are supporting and bringing these 300 jobs, just a refresher, that's 7 jobs on average is created from a service position. So when you think about your local store, your local person who's struggling because of COVID or trying to get back on their feet, that's needing to cobble together some income to go make some things happen because perhaps they got disrupted in that chaos, that means that we probably created, if you use that same multiplier, probably 2,000 opportunities that existed because of those 300 jobs. And so that's a really signature thing. People get wrapped up and think, oh, it's 300, big deal. No, it's probably closer to 2,400 when you do the math.
Yeah.
And that's a huge upswing in lives impacted. So we appreciate that and the work that's being done.
Well, even the 800 million. I mean, when you talk about that even gets multiplied too.
Right.
So that's also same factors apply. So that's pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah.
It's even more powerful when you use your pinky.
Yeah, that's right.
So what about 2021?
2021 is actually coming off to a good start. We have a little bit over $10.5 billion in the pipeline. One project specifically that is moving forward pretty nicely is a 2-phased expansion. Phase 2 is going to be contingent on Phase 1. They are looking at Houston, they're looking at Baton Rouge, and they're looking at Singapore. But what I think is promising for the Houston area is, one, last week they submitted their application to Harris County for a tax abatement. And then secondly, they have decided that they're already going to apply for TCEQ's air permit. They're not only are they willing to pay the $75,000 that it takes for that application, but they're going to pay the extra $10,000 to try to expedite it because they need the air permit by September.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that's one that's awfully promising in moving along for the Houston area.
Very good. And then for 2021, we're also seeing the expansion of the ship channel too, right? So that's going to generate some good work.
Absolutely, it will. Because that's one of the attractive things on that. In fact, one of the projects that I've been working on, one of the main criteria is they need to make sure that they have at least 60-foot clearance on some bridges. So that just goes to show you. And then I'm working on another project that needs barge access. And that kind of leads into another interesting thing about 2021 is all of a sudden we started seeing this uptick in cold storage interest, and that's an important in the port. The ship channel is really important to them.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah. So. Again, a reminder when you think about mass distribution, logistics, and all the complexity that goes into it. I think you see the supply chain is such a critical deal, and then when you have to amplify supply chain because of something as critical as like a vaccine release and trying to roll that out nationally, it's just amazing to think about the complexities that go into it.
Right.
You're building, you're working on getting bridges extended, raised, things happening, dredging ditches. Like yesterday, I felt great because I created a spreadsheet. I was like, look at me.
Let me keep up with all this.
It does its own numbers.
And it's kind of interesting just talking with you. I know, being in economic development, most people get upset when they sit in traffic, right? But you get kind of excited.
Yeah, really.
Because it means there's people out there, there's things happening, there's people who are trying to get places, and yeah, it sucks to sit in traffic, but the upside is when you're sitting there, you can think about all the different opportunities that are being created because there's traffic. Yay.
Yeah, right. And I think that goes the same there is a lot of construction going on on the transportation end of it. And, even I will sometimes get, why are they doing all this construction at the same time? And then, then I get this, click. Well, now wait a minute. That means we're investing, in infrastructure, and that's going to, in the end, be, very good for all of us.
Yeah, it wasn't until I actually had a tremendous amount of clients that I rely on that run and own and operate construction industrial firms that I actually started enjoying traffic. I'm like, this is great. Love that work going on over there. Keep going. I hope you guys need some more concrete because I know that. So we hit up on some high level stuff, right? Big picture things. I think earlier before the show you were talking about a really good success story that really kind of encompasses, and I think you were mentioning it at the beginning too about this airplane thing and how it brought some stuff. So I think to help people kind of see how all these pieces fit together and then what that finished product looks like, why don't you share a little bit about that example?
Sure. And so we were approached by a biodiesel firm, which going back to policy changes, we are seeing a lot more interest from green companies. But we did just about everything that this organization can help with. So we helped them find the piece of property that they needed. There was going to need to be some infrastructure involved in it, so we helped them by giving them a list of companies that, engineering firms that could come in and assist them. They did choose one of our members, and I think that speaks well to the kind of relationships that we build with these clients because they come back and they trust us. And especially since this is a foreign firm, so they're not in the Houston area and they don't know all of that. Electricity was a big need, so we were able to facilitate a meeting with them. The port was important to them, so we were able to facilitate discussions with the port. Worked all those issues out. They needed potable water coming out there. We were able to help them with that.
Wow.
Permitting issues. They needed help with permitting issues. We were able to step in and help out with that. So, that's kind of the breadth of things. I think probably the only thing we haven't touched with them yet is workforce development.
Yeah.
But if they end up with that need, we're obviously, ready to stand by and help them, with that. So, that's a good thing. The one recommendation that I would give to people, though, is to get us involved early rather than when you begin to panic. And we get that a lot. We had this one incident.
But I thought you had a magic wand. You could just make all the problems go away.
We've got the wand and we've got the ruby red shoes. So, it's, but, for example, we had one company that was needing to start trucking things in, and all of a sudden they realized that the overhead electric lines were too. And it was a situation where the port was saying, no, that's the county. No, the county was saying, no, that's the city. No, it's not you. So we ended up just getting everyone together in the same room and said, okay, let's figure this out. And, we were able to figure it out and move forward. And I think that's another good thing that we, one of our strengths is that the relationship that we have with people, rather than a company just trying to pick the phone up and navigate the bureaucracy of, where do I go, where do we go, and on permitting, one person gets it, and then you do that, and it goes to another person, and they say, no, you've got to do that. So yeah, especially if you get us in early.
Well, y'all have the roadmap, right? So a lot of people are trying to drive down this road, and especially if they're new to the area, they don't know all the side streets they need to take sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm using a good analogy here, I hope. So y'all help them figure out the side streets that they can take to avoid the main traffic routes to get them where they need to get to a little bit faster.
Right.
Right.
And then we can do things just as simple as, we had with Anio's Baystar, they were needing a traffic light. And they were having a hard time, going through that. Well, we were able to get that done really quickly. So it doesn't have to be something really complex, but even something as simple as that. Or there was one company that was needing a tree that was cut down because the line of sight was very dangerous, for the oncoming traffic. We got that done. So, it doesn't matter.
It sounds like it's some really simple stuff, but it gets really complicated really quick when it's on when it's not on private property. Put it that way.
I think a lot of things too for a lot of people is sometimes you just don't know where to start, right? And so not knowing where to start can eat up time, it can eat up resources, it can cause frustration and everything. So I think it's easy to have a one-stop shop where you can say, I can start here and I can probably turn to some solutions. And
right.
That's part of the organization. And don't think that I'm not going to ask you to look at the spreadsheet afterwards. 'Cause all that you've told me, I'm like, I'm gonna hit up Regina for the spreadsheet. So I'm trying to get some colors on it. So.
Okay.
So with that being said, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's excited to finally have you on the show. I'm excited for the forecast, and I think it's just going to continue. We're an evolving organization. We're an evolving region. So we're going to continue to evolve, and I'm excited to see that continue to grow.
How do people get in contact with you here?
My email is regina@allianceportregion.com, and that's really the best way to do it because I get the emails on my phone, and with my job I am in the office maybe 30% of the time and out and about, and let me give you my cell phone number because I don't mind people calling. It is 281-415-4350.
Thank you.
Nice. So as a reminder again to our audience, we appreciate you for tuning in. Glad to have everybody back in the studio.
Yes.
And doing it the right way. Want to remind you, if you're not a member of the Economic Alliance or not familiar with how it works, you can always reach out to myself, Clint Aiken. We're big advocates for the region.
Absolutely.
We're happy to get you involved. They have several events coming up over the next few months, along with Big Alliance, that are really some signature opportunities. So stay tuned. Check out their website at allianceportregion.com.
And if you're interested in coming on the show, reach out to us also. We might be looking for some guests.
Absolutely. So you're welcome to reach out to that. But again, our encouragement to you is to be involved. If you're going to become a member of any organization, don't just send down somebody and put your sign up and then never really involve yourself. This is the design is to be involved, be active, and make a difference because it's going to impact your business and you'll be able to get more things done. So thanks for tuning in today, Regina. Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll see you guys next week.